Yaps. It's in the name.
In the middle of 2023, for the first time in the past 73 years, the title of the most populated country in the world has shifted, with India's population
No longer China, it's India.
overtaking that of China. These 1.43 billion people, 17.6% of the world's population, call arguably the most diverse region on the planet their home. From the tallest mountains in the world, over dry deserts, the wettest cities, to tropical rainforests and islands, India has incredible stories to tell. So in this video, we'll explore many of these by traveling through the
India is quite like America in the sense that there you have in the southwest you have the desert, and the north or the northwest you got the forests, in the midwest you got the plains, tundras, or not, I shouldn't say tundras. That's up way further north, like Vermont. But then we have beaches. Like, we got all the different major lands, and so do you.
distinct regions.
You got islands too, but that's what I'm saying. Like up here, you got, I guess, 4 distinct regions is great. 'Cause you got the Himalayas, you got the South Tropical area, you got the farmland in the middle.
Of this subcontinent.
We got creepy neighbors too.
Chapter 1.
Yo, low key, the people that live right there,
The Himalayas.
low
Before we
creepy.
start, a quick disclaimer. Mapping areas like India's northern border is complicated due to historical and political sensitivities, and it is impossible to please everybody's viewpoint. I'll try and use maps showing each country's
Wow.
administrative claims, but sometimes third-party maps might differ. Remember, these maps aren't a statement of political opinion, but rather tools to explore India's geography.
I'm gonna start saying that in the future. Whenever y'all yell at me for not using the right one, I'm like, this is not a statement about political opinion, but rather just tools to explore India's geography.
Any perceived political bias is unintentional. With that out of the way, let's dive into the tallest mountain range in the world, which separates India from the rest of the continent. While the area of elevated land is broad in Central Asia, with continuous mountains ranging from the western borders of Uzbekistan to the Chinese province of Henan in the east, the Himalayas are just a thin strip of mountains between the Pakistani Nanga Parbat and the Chinese summit of Nancha Barwa. Between these mountains, India administers the largest region of the Himalayas, with the 6 Indian states of Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Ladakh, and Jammu and Kashmir under Indian control. Many of these regions are disputed, with Pakistan and China claiming them. Still, again, we are considering borders according to who currently has political control over them.
You can see them from your window.
The
That's
Himalayas and all the
amazing.
neighboring
Could you
mountain
send a
ranges of
picture in the
Tibetan
Discord?
Plateau, the Hindu Kush to the west, and the Arakan Mountains to the east are created from the Indian tectonic plate ramming into the Eurasian landmass around 10 million years ago. The powerful collision of the Indian plate has caused these mountains to become the tallest range in the world, with it being the only place where peaks above 8,000 meters, or 26,000 feet, can be found. Of the 13
It's night, so it'll not be
8,000 meter
visible?
peaks, one of
Fair.
them is located in India, in the state of Sikkim. Kangchenjunga rises a total of 8,568 meters above the sea level, also securing India the title
Wow.
of the 3rd tallest mountain in the world. Up until 1852, it was incorrectly assumed to be the tallest mountain in the world, and technically it hasn't been summited to this date, making it the tallest unclimbed mountain in the world. In 1955, when a British expedition attempted the summit for the first time, a promise to the monarch of the Kingdom of Sikkim was kept, that the expedition must stop a few meters short of the summit to keep it untouched for eternity. The region of these summits is called the Great
Yeah,
Himalayas,
no way.
which is a longitudinal belt characterized by most mountains surpassing the 5,000 meter mark. Stretching horizontally just south of that are the Lesser and Outer Himalayas, with gradually lower and lower peaks. In the Lesser Himalayas, deep gorges have been carved by the meltwaters from the high glaciers. These gorges extend
Wow.
through the Outer Himalayas,
That's so
where they
beautiful.
heavily erode the rolling hills, picking up a lot of sediments, which are then transported to our next region. Chapter 2. The Indus-Gangetic Plains. The Great Plains of North India, East Pakistan, and virtually the entire
I wish that northeast part or northwest part of India was not as disputed with Pakistan and China, because I would love to go there and go snowboarding.
city of Bangladesh, a product of the vast amounts of meltwater that are rushing down from the Himalayan glaciers. The water collects in 2 distinct drainage basins, with the Brahmaputra and Ganges River in the central and eastern
Oh,
section,
interesting.
and the Indus River in the west. The sediments which have been deposited around the riverbanks and their tributaries make the plain one of the most fertile regions in the world,
That's
on par
beautiful.
with the Nile Delta or the Ukrainian plain. The vast amount of alluvium, a term used for sediments that provide very fertile soils, has nourished civilizations for thousands of years now, with the Indus Valley civilization being one of the earliest urbanized centers in the world, over 2,500 years before Rome was founded, and even around 100 years before the first pharaoh united the people around the river Nile. Today, this fertility has caused an unbelievable population boom, with over 500 million people living in the watershed of the 3 rivers, with some of India's most important and most populated cities located on the banks of the river. If you want to learn more about the geography of the Ganges and how it impacts the life of millions of Hindus, I made a separate video exploring precisely that. It will be linked
Okay.
in the description below. And
Maybe
in
we
the
watch
end
that.
part after this video.
This video gets 20 likes.
The
I'll
water
watch that
for
one.
Agriculture in the region doesn't only come from the rivers, though. Annual summer monsoons regularly pour over the plain, with the eastern parts most affected. Regular floodings are a blessing and a curse at the same time to the farmers, as they provide abundant water and de-stress the need for extra irrigation. However, the intense rainfall can also erode the sediments out of the soil and
Wow.
cause billions of dollars in property damage by destroying roads, houses, and farms across the north. In the far east of India, in the state of Meghalaya, the rain gets so extreme that the city of Nasvinram received the title of the rainiest city in the world, receiving an average annual precipitation of 12,400 millimeters per year. To put this into perspective, the UK, which is often said to be a very rainy country, only has an average precipitation ranging between 800 and 1,400 millimeters per year. As you move westwards and upstream of the Ganges River, however, the rain begins to slow
Damn.
down and the climate slowly shifts from subtropical to semi-arid and finally to the driest region of India, which brings us to our next destination. Chapter 3, the Thar Desert. Enclosed by the Indus River Plains, Punjab Plains, and the Aravalli Hills, the Thar Desert forms the only arid landscape of India, and is arguably the most interesting desert in the world. A
Interesting.
combination of the trade winds and high pressure
hell
zones
yeah.
created by global wind cells divert the annual monsoon to the east
I love
of the
shit
Thar
like
Desert,
this.
leaving only 100 millimeters of annual rainfall in the driest places. In many parts, the desert is covered in loose sand, which reaches the desert from the surrounding alluvial plains of the Indus River. The uncompacted sand is very
Wow.
mobile, and the persistent winds which cause the diversion of the monsoon transport these sands across the desert. Ever-changing dunes are constantly moving across the plain, growing and shrinking with the changing weather. Despite these rough and seemingly inhospitable conditions,
A
the Thar
white desert?
is far from empty. Since ancient civilizations,
This sand dune reminds me not just of the Mummy, but like of like Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you guys remember when Appa got stolen.
people have called the desert their home. And
Remember
today,
that episode?
An astonishing 27 million people live there. The uncovered bare rock in many places reveals precious resources like phosphor for fertilizers, gypsum for cement, and other building materials. Next to the excavation of natural resources, a very extensive canal network constructed in the mid-20th century also allows for extensive agriculture in the desert. The Rajasthan Canal, later renamed to the Indira Gandhi Canal, redirects water from 3 rivers in Punjab to the 450-kilometer far away Thar Desert, and hundreds of branches and distribution canals, totaling 9,245 kilometers, distribute the water to irrigate a 6,700 square kilometer large region of the desert, equivalent to the size of the US state Delaware. While Indians and Pakistanis who share the desert have made it more hospitable, they are not fond of the desert expanding into the surrounding fertile lands. To prevent the dunes from traveling across the boundaries of the desert, windbreaks in the form of shrubs and small trees are installed on the dunes, slowing down and eventually stopping their march. And extensive afforestation of previously dead landscapes ensures that the only way the desert will shift is to a greener landscape. The communities have an unexpected help
That's
for
smart.
their cause, and nature may by itself transform the desert into a green corridor soon. Global warming has increased the temperatures of the equatorial Indian Ocean, which in the past 120 years of recorded weather data caused a shift in the monsoon corridor, reducing rainfall in eastern India and concentrating it more and more in Rajasthan. Leaving the plains of the Ganges and Thar Desert, the land becomes more elevated again, bringing us to our 4th stop of the journey and the last chapter of the Indian mainland. Chapter 4, the Peninsula. Extruding into the Indian Ocean lays the oldest and most stable part of the Indian continental shelf, with rock formations dating back to the ancient supercontinent Gondwana, and the undisturbedness makes it the only region in India where dinosaur fossils can be found. Geographically,
That's cool.
this part of the continental shelf can be divided into 2 main features: the eastern and western Ghats, which are medium-sized mountain ranges, and a far-spanning plateau called the Deccan, which is contained between them. For the Deccan, no absolute geographical boundaries exist, but is generally considered the area below the Narmada River, which is the first major river not draining into the Indo-Gangetic Plains. Starting from the western Ghats, which mark the highest point of the peninsula, a gradual but continuous eastward slope can be made out from the topography, which also leads nearly all rivers of the plateau draining into the Bay of Bengal instead of the Arabian Sea. The 2 largest ones in the Deccan are the Godavari and Krishna River, the 2nd and 3rd longest river of India respectively, which are both considered sacred in Hinduism. Together they drain nearly 20% of the entire country of India, yet the actual discharge volume is fairly low for such significant and far-reaching rivers.
snowing.
This is caused by the western Ghats, which act as a rain shield
Oh,
for the
shit.
vast Deccan Plateau, making it a tropical, yet dry and semi-arid region. The full force of the monsoons can be experienced at the western foot of the Ghats, where cities like Goa, Mumbai and Kochi are exposed to annual rainfalls exceeding 2,000 to 3,000 millimeters per
The
year.
real
As a
superstar is
comparison,
here.
most cities
Annie.
behind the mountains average just 500 millimeters.
I do sleep beautiful.
Having covered the 4 main areas of
I
the
was
Indian
squeezing- my
mainland,
hands hurt.
one
I
last
was
region of the most
squeezing.
populated country in the world is left to explore, whose climate is just as
I
rainy
was
as Western
muting
Ghats
my,
metropoles.
I was snoozing my alarm.
Often forgotten when thinking about all the geographical features
Thinking
of
it was
India,
my 7
but the
o'clock
country also
alarm.
has union Union territories, meaning
Where's my
regions
8
directly
o'clock
administered
alarm?
by the federal government in the Indian Ocean to the west and to the east, bringing us to Chapter 5, the islands.
Ooh, the
India
islands.
administers
Do
two
you- which one of these is Epstein's Island for India? Which one? Is it the Lakshadweep or is it the Nicobar Islands?
remote archipelagos in front of its shores. With the Lakshadweep archipelago about 200 kilometers into the
It's the
Arabian
Nicobar
Sea,
one? That's
and
what
the
I thought
Andaman
too.
and Nicobar Islands about 1,200 kilometers into the Bay of Bengal.
Right there. There it is. The one that's kind of shaped like a tip.
These tropical islands are a strong contrast to the mainland.
Don't go
with
there,
the
boys.
Lakshadweep Islands closely resembling the neighboring Maldives, and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands appearing more like an exceptionally densely forested extension of
Nico's
Indonesian
bar.
Sumatra.
Bad
Nico's
joke.
bar.
One of the
Bad
Andaman
joke.
Islands regularly makes headlines.
I agree.
That's a
It is
good
the
joke.
subject of many
No.
documentaries, as it is the home of the Sentinelese people, who in their pursuit of remaining
Oh shit, that's where these people are at?
disconnected
Well, I can assure you it's not on this island.
from the outside world, regularly attack and kill any person who
Oh
attempts to
my
land on the
God.
island. Since the inclusion of the islands into modern India in 1956,
I didn't know they were
it has been
Indian.
illegal to travel to the island, and the Indian Coast Guard guards the tribe's voluntary isolation.
I did
On the
not
other
know
side
that.
of the main Andaman Islands lays India's only active volcano called Barren Island.
Oh.
Opposite to this island's group's volcanic origin story,
India has a
which
volcano?
has created a relatively large plateau, giving room for hundreds of thousands of people to live on. Lakshadweep is a product of coral reefs emerging out of the ocean and only offer thin lagoons as habitats. This buildup makes Lakshadweep the smallest and least populated of the 36 Indian states and territories, but offers the most picture-perfect beaches. Tourism in the archipelago still lags strongly behind its Maldive neighbors to the south due to heavy access restrictions, with permits from the mainland being required to access the islands, and some islands being entirely off limits to international tourists. These territories round up our trip through the country of India.
The islands that are locked away from tourists, those are the ones where the freak shit's happening.
Which absolutely deserves its title as one of the most diverse countries in the world. From the dramatic summits of the north, to the holy river deltas, the buzzing Thar Desert, and the rolling plateau of the Deccan piercing into the Indian Ocean, India has something for everybody. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive. If you did, be sure to show some appreciation with a like, and if you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe. To continue learning about India, you can watch this video explain.
Remember, guys, like the video, hit them with the subscribe. We spread the love. Now do it to my channel. I retired at 60 and set off to see as much of the world as I could afford. I made 3 visits to India and absolutely adored it. I'm too old now, but I wish I could have seen more. India is a geologist and a map maker's dream. There is a lot of really cool, pretty places that are in India. What are we laughing at? Will you visit Epstein's Island or North Sentinel Island? We've already talked about this. If they're doing tour guides at Epstein's Island, I would go take a tour there. I am not going to the North Sentinel Island. You want to take a tour?
No.
No?